Oops, there we go. Made a new PowerPoint presentation for going with the comp plan and interviewing people who want to go solar by helping people go solar. So this is the very first page of the screen. It says, thank you for being on this interview. And this won't take long, and then we'll be right into the comp plan, but making sure that whoever I'm talking with that was handed to me through somebody else setting an appointment, that they know this is a solar energy and education company. So we're not here to sell like underwater basket weaving kits or anything like that. They also need to understand going solar is a construction job. It's a major multi-step process. And so that it's not going to be, I sold it today and hey, by next week, that thing should be installed and I'm paid. The pay comes when the solar goes on the roof and is done. And I know you all know that, but for the purposes of this recording, we can cover this ground anyway. Also, now we're looking at people who have homeowner references. If you're going to get a job, a lot of jobs require references, and those homeowner references who do not already have solar. And then those references are going to see what we call a pre-solar presentation, and you will watch it with them. Meaning you're going to, it helps that homeowner friend who's now going to be a reference for you feel comfortable being on that presentation where there's nothing to be sold and they're not going to buy anything. All right, so that out of the way, I ask the person, are you interested in seeing first, like, what's it worth to you to do this? Yes, it is. All right, so first position everybody is in is what we call a non-selling position. You're known as a setter, meaning you're going to set appointments with your homeowner friends who are going to be a reference to see David, to see whoever, do this presentation, pre-solar presentation. Well, what's that worth to you? Here's what we know. The average revenue for a solar system to reach, so the money goes from the finance company to reach the company that pays us. The average revenue is between $8,000 and like $12,000 in dollars. So let's just round it to 10,000 goes to reach. That means the very first person that you have contacted and said, you really want to see this pre-solar, it's a training presentation for me, okay, that says, hey, I'm going to go solar after it's all said and done. That very first one, you get a 10% commission, so that's worth $1,000. Not bad. The second person that does that, you get a pay raise to 15%. Now, just quick math. If you were getting 10%, that means you just got a 50% pay raise. Now to 15%. Now you're going to get $1,500. Number 3, and forever. 10,000 in revenue, a $2,000 payday. So that means from 1 to 3, you got a 100% pay raise. I don't know where else you could go to work and do that, to be honest, right? But here's what's really kind of cool. You created the appointment for this person to see a presentation about solar. You didn't do the presentation about solar, you created the appointment. Someone else did that presentation. You literally don't have any fingerprints on that sale at all. Well, you do, you're the setter. Okay, so you got sort of fingerprints. Where else can you go and just say, hey, would you like to look at this? Let somebody else do all the heavy lifting, and you still walk away with $1,000 to $2,000. That's setter pay, and you're not selling. If you're selling, you're doing it wrong. Why would you, I mean, do you want to look at going solar? Sure, I do. All right, stop selling, don't sell, just set the appointment, and it's $1,000 to $2,000 in your pocket. All righty then. Now, from here, where do you go? The next place you're going to go is what we call the builder part of this whole thing. And we're going to look at the builder bonus pool. Now, this is where it gets completely cool, because along the way of showing people how Reach works and how solar works, without question, because it's just to go on the record here, in the month of July, so far on day 27, 1,000 new setters have joined Reach. 1,000. Solar is exploding. All right, so now, along the way, you're going to have a couple, 3 people that go, this is pretty cool. Can I do it too? Yes, you can. So you now have created a situation where 2 of your friends, 2 people that you've run into, talked solar, and they've said, I want to do it too. 2 of them have done the same thing you did, created a few appointments, and they went solar. All right, now you found the people who had the friends. They're not your friends. These are just your teammates. You've created 2 teams. And we're going to say each one of those 2 teams did 10,000 revenue. That's a total of 20,000 revenue to Reach. That is a $2,400 payday to you. Now, I said it and I misspoke on the first screen about you don't even have a fingerprint on that sale. You did there because you were the setter. You found the person to see the solar presentation. They went to a closer and they bought solar. You were the setter. You had a fingerprint on that. Here, you don't. You have 2 people who know friends that they've spoken to or did whatever they did, door knocked, I don't care. Anyway, those 2 people went out, made some solar presentation appointments, who bought. The only involvement you have in this builder side of things is the fact that you found the 2 guys that made the appointments. No fingerprint on that sale at all.
Shamir,
Okay, so
Shamir, put your mute on. Mute yourself. You got wind blowing or something that. Okay, thank you.
Oh, there it goes. So now you go along and you get a 3rd person, and they're doing the exact same work. 1 sale or maybe 2 to hit the 10,000 revenue each team. You've created with your team, actually it's only your team, not you, created 30,000 in revenue. That is a $5,600 payday to you, the builder. You're not even the setter now. You didn't set any of those appointments. All you did was found 3 people, built these teams, and they could have brought people who brought people, doesn't matter. When you hit the 10, 10, and 10, you, the enroller of those people, pocket $5,600. 3 people doing twice the work. Oh, wow. Each one of them did 2 to 3 sales apiece. That's not, in the world of solar, that's not working yourself to death by any means. On the Zooms that I'm on, we hear these guys that are out knocking doors, and they're doing 8, 10, 12 sales a month. Hardcore, knocking the doors, going into the homes, presenting the solar, closing the deals. So here, anyway, you've got 3 teams that managed to squeeze out 2 to 3 sales each for 60,000 in revenue to Reach. You are now in $100,000 a year land, $9,200 a month. Not on these slides. I purposefully left it off because for the people we're talking to, you get much over that, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to faint. This just can't be believable. But just for you guys and the recording, 4 people doing the 2 apiece, and you're now just under $22,000 a month. 4 people doing 3 sales apiece, $32,000 a month. 5 people doing 4 sales, you're $54,000 a month. 5 people doing 6 sales a month, and you're at $90,000 $10,000 a month. Team building. All right, so yeah, Jim, I get all that, but how do you really do it? New slide. Here you are. Happy you. You start out, you found a couple people, and they're doing the 10K, right? The 10K. How are they doing that? Well, here's the possibility. This guy found that person who found this person who found this person, and every one of them is asleep at the wheel. Huh. They found this person, boom. Found somebody with some references and some influence, whatever. And over here, this person was a superstar right off the bat. They did their 10K. Well, that means you've got your 10 and your 10. Here comes a little over $2,000 to you. Now, you add that third person, and it could be the same thing. Down here, down here, down here. And then finally, somebody lights on fire, and they do 10K. You're about to see some serious magic here, my friends. Only because it's reach. 10K, 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 right? What did we say that's worth? Well, let's go back to the previous slide. 3 teams, that's 5,600 to you, right? Here we are. So now we go 5,600 because you got these 3 teams. And you really want to motivate your teams. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. Well, this person right here and this person right here, they have a team family tree, right? Team family tree. You can get a hold of them and say, guess what, my friend? You got somebody down there who's doing some sales. 10,000 and 10,000. This person's already on fire. And you can communicate to them. If they would just get somebody else going and achieve 10K here to go with that 10K, guess what? They would get a $2,000 payday because they've already got somebody down here who's lit on fire. This is why building down the lines. Don't go wide, 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 wide. All you're doing is creating a bunch of orphans. And the best thing that could happen is you get a hold of a superstar and put him clear down here at the bottom of the whole thing to push that activity up so that you can get a hold of this person and say, guess what? If you'll just do this and help me, I'll help you. You can create $2,000 a month to start. Okay? That is how the builder bonus works. It doesn't matter who sponsored or enrolled any of these people. The volume flows up through everyone so that you can get a hold of this person and say, you got somebody down here doing a whole bunch of sales. All you need to do is add somebody else. The question comes, well, why wouldn't you add that person? Well, on the one hand, the philosophy is don't do that because now you kind of take away the motivation. I mean, if you're going to go ahead and build them too, right? So they get the 2,000 regardless. Depending on who that person is in your relationship, you might want to do that. Because if they can suddenly go, wow, $2,000 coming my way, what if I wake up, smell the coffee, and add that third team and get myself to 5,600? And suddenly you turn them on fire. So there is reasons why to kind of go against the normal convention of it all, adding, the second. The other reason is you might have a family member that you decide you want to create an income for and build a team under them. You could do that because unlike any other company out there, where in this builder scenario does it say that you personally must sell a solar system? Nowhere. You are rewarded in the builder side of this pay for finding people who can sell solar. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions real quick. Then we're going to go to one more slide and show you what happens if you do want to sell solar.
Is this on a monthly basis every month you got to produce this?
Well, once you've got the team in place,
Then it's a monthly.
then it takes care of itself. And keeping in mind again, if there's no solar sales, there's no money. So the trick is getting the solar sales, right? How do you do that if you're not the one selling? In our system, finding this person who wants to make some money, and that person has home owner friends that would be willing to be a reference for them.
Right.
That's where they come from, okay? Once that person runs out of warm market, we would call it, then what? Well, then you can plug them into any number of sources of people looking to earn money, who will then have homeowner references. And we use the word hiring because we're not charging them anything. There is no monthly fee to do this. There is no sign-up cost. So, what if you want to sell solar though? What does that look like? As a sales rep, which as David and I are both learning, there's a process to that, because you have to get onboarded in different states with different installers and so on. But let's just look at this, because there's people out there who are selling solar. Raise your hand if you know anybody in solar who's making a 91% commission rate on their solar sales. A what? Hey, and it's not killing yourself doing it. But so you become a sales rep. That means you also were a sales setter. So you're going to set your own appointments. You're going to do your thing. All right. So your first couple of sales, you do 20,000 in revenue, and you're going to get a 50% base commission. So you made $10,000, but there's a sales rep bonus pool that kicks in after the base commission of 10,000 on the 20. So you made a total of 12,500 on a $20,000 revenue. Well, that's 62.5%, not bad. Move yourself up to 3 sales a month-ish. If they were all $8,000 sales, then you'd have to have like 4 of them. All right. But 50% of 30 grand, you've made a base commission of 15,000 and a sales rep bonus pool of 6. There's $21,000, a 70% commission. From here up, we're in a land that no solar salespeople ever get to see. 5, 6, 7 sales, 25, 50,000 in revenue, basically. So you've put 25 grand in your pocket, but look at the bonus, $12,000, 37,000 total in your pocket. You're at a 74% commission rate. 80,000 in revenue, 40,000 commission, $25,000 bonus, 65 grand for that month. 81, no solar company. In fact, I heard today there are a lot of mom and pop solar company people joining Reach because they don't have the buying power to get the pricing, they can't make as much being their own mom and pop deal than they can joining us and just sell through Reach, because they can't get to a 74, an 81, or a 91% commission rate on their own sales in their own company, but they can here. So If you want to be a sales rep, you can. It's there's a lot of steps involved, I will tell you that, but you can do it. And it's worth the while if that's where you want to be. But now, here's what I want to point out. If you want to make, say, 60, 70, 80,000 a month, 100,000 a month, if you want to do that in solar, well, you can see you can definitely do that selling the solar yourself. I can't even begin to tell you the number of hours and the number of appointments and so on and so forth that it takes to do 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 sales in a month, virtually or in home. But you can see you could get to 60, 80, 100,000 a month selling the solar. And you're
Are
going
these
to put
figures, are the sales revenue, is that built off of, like, for example, when you're talking like the 20,000, for example, is that off of doing 2 sales? Is it the number of sales, or is it just like the gross commission or the gross value of each project that you generate?
Yeah, it's the gross value, because you might sell little Susie homemaker who's got a 1-bedroom house with a 500 square foot roof, and 15 panels, and the whole system is $12,000. The whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Your commission is obviously going to not be 12,000. It's going to be much less.
right, exactly. And then at the same time, like I've seen, because now and then they'll show some of these deals they're working on and the build out, and they've got like a 25,000 square foot roof, right? And the system's got 60 panels on there, and it's $110,000 for that whole thing. Well, there's going to be like 30,000 in revenue. So,
Right. So you'd automatically just get bumped to that 30,000.
well, we're just automatically, it's just gonna clock in whatever the dollars are. But these are the thresholds. Okay.
Okay.
So like if it was a 25,000 sales revenue to the company, then you're going to make 12,500. It's going to be a percentage of the actual dollars.
Okay. So, and that resets each month. So,
Yes.
okay. So if I did 10 sales and I generated $100,000 this month, that counter would reset next month, and then I would be back down at the 62.5%
Yes.
full pay. Okay.
Yeah. Because the base is always 50%. And then the additional bonus, the sales rep bonus pool, is based on this flowing revenue of whatever you did in that month.
And
So
what
you
is
know
that?
how much you're going to do is 50%.
And what's the sales rep bonus pool? Is that money where's that extra value being generated?
So where it comes from, that's a great question. Where it comes from is they take all of the sales revenue and they actually break it into 2 pools of 10% of the total company revenue. And 10% goes into this sales rep bonus pool and 10% goes into the builder pool.
Okay, so you essentially get a little bit back from what you contributed to the pool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, could be quite a bit back. I mean,
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. And go ahead.
And lastly, these numbers don't take into account the adders, if there's any adders that come out for closing a project.
Yeah, they
Like
do. I mean, this is actual revenue to reach. So if there was adders in there that reduced the revenue, they come out on top, and then whatever's left, which that's one of the reasons why they had some changes in EPCs or installers, was because some of them were addering us to death, and they just said, we could live without that.
Okay. And then what's the, I'm just curious, what's the full pay percent if you close a deal and it's less than 10? Like, what if you do 15,000 a month? What would the full pay percentage be? of anything less than 20?
Oh, then you're gonna get 50%.
50. Okay, so it's 50% base commission. So the sales rep, but you wouldn't, if you do less than 20,000 a month, and you're not going to get the sales rep bonus pool.
Correct.
You just
Which,
get 50%
since you
base.
brought it up, and it'll go on the recording, because it was one of my questions, is how are you doing this, right?
Mhm.
Are you familiar with the term breakage?
Remind me again.
Okay. Breakage is this, and you just basically landed on it without knowing it. If you don't do 20,000 in revenue, you don't participate in the sales rep bonus pool. Well, how many solar salespeople do you suppose there are that are only doing one sale a month, one sale every other month?
I'd say a majority.
Right. So their revenue goes into the bucket, and the sales reps that are doing 20 plus are getting their
Rewarded.
part of the total pool.
So it incentivizes you to do more, to be more productive, essentially.
Exactly. And when you hit this number, 20,000, and you realize maybe one, maybe two more sales, and you pick up a $6,000 bonus instead of a $2,500 bonus. Whoa. Is when you look at it, the move from 20 to 30,000 is $10,000. The move from 2,500 to 6,000 is 3,500. So out of that extra 10,000, you got a 35% extra. So yeah, so that's how they do it. And I had a conversation with Mike Fettig, the very first conversation, in fact, where he was explaining to me, because I looked at the numbers and said, how exactly are you able to do what you're doing, especially here in the builder's pool? And he was explaining. So I'm going to go back here to previous. Oh, well, no, I was on the right one. Next, okay. Here you are. And we'll say you are really getting after it. You got your 4 people, right? And each one of those 4 is doing 20,000 in revenue. So we know from the sheet here, you're pulling a $21,000 builder bonus. Okay. Because you did that. And you got people down here and they're just doing it to it. And this guy's got one, and all these people. This one kind of did something here, 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 and they got a couple. All these single leg lines are contributing to the breakage. If they're making sales, but they aren't building a team, they're just pushing people down the line, kind of mindless, and they're not paying any attention. That contributes to your $21,000 because they are not bonus pool qualified until they get bonus pool qualified. And all that volume does flow up. It's not like, hey, we're trying to cheat you out of something. Everybody from here up is entitled to the volume that gets created down here. But they've made this so that you need to build teams of 2 or more, and then you can start getting your share of the 21,000, the 90,000, or whatever. So that's how it works. Your real strategy in the builder bonus thing is to build down under just 2 or 3 legs, really, until you start getting revenue flowing up, because that flows up through everyone. You can call down there and say, hey, did you notice you just had 2 sales flow through you? And all you got to do is go find somebody, and it encourages them to find somebody and start working. to get the other side, to get the team built.
Okay.
Cool.
So that 21,000 again. So that 21,000 is part of your, I guess, override that you're making off of the team that you're
Yep.
building. Okay.
Should you call
And
it an
then-
override? It's not. It's not an override. It is in the bonus pool, so it's not.
It's a bonus. So
Right.
here's the override,
It's
since
not
you
considered an
mentioned
override.
it. No, here's the actual override. Because there is one, just like there's a base commission, you sell, you're gonna get 50% once you've qualified. So you got your 20% as a setter, and now if you're also now the salesperson, 3 sales gets you to the full 50%. And actually, I don't have it on here, but I'll show it to you. As a sales rep, we're gonna go back to that page for just a second. Your first sale as a sales rep is 20% for the closing side, and you got your 20% as the setter. And then your next one is 25%, and then 30% from then on. So your setter commission, 20 and 20 is 40, 45, and then here's where the 50. On your third sale, you're at 50% forever. Okay, now, back here, if you are the enroller of the setter, you get an actual 2% of the total revenue on the setter. If you also enrolled the closer on that same sale, you get another 2% for a total of 4%, which is an actual base level override regardless of builder bonus. The builder bonus kicks in, which means if you don't have a team yet, but you got people all down one leg, so you're not team bonus qualified yet, you're still going to get up to 4% for now, as long as you aren't a closer. You'll get 2% override on all your setters that created sales that somebody else closed. And it's an actual override.
You guys understand that part?
Yep.
That's the reason I go. That's the reason I recruit. I enjoy that recruiting process. If you look at the program, I put everybody in the program.
Yeah. You definitely want to, because if they're not in the REACH pay system, you'll never see REACH bonus money.
Right.
So
Is there another
It is
pool,
a very powerful-
producer pool?
say that again.
Is there another pool, a producer's pool?
That's this, yeah, that's what they now call it, sales rep. That's this pool right here, this
Okay,
sales
so
rep.
that's the sales rep bonus pool, and then the other is the builder's pool.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, they used to call this the producer's pool.
Okay.
So we're gonna get rid of all the ink. There we go. I gotta tell you, my original thing was when David introduced me to the other company, was I just want to build teams. Then started seeing how they pay on building teams, and it's like, wow, that could take some doing, because they actually have some fairly not easy to hit criteria. Like you got to get 6 or more sales in a 60-day period from your team, blah, blah, blah. And then the way they slice and dice the dollars, you're only getting paid on 1/3 of the revenue. They take 70% of the revenue out and it goes somewhere else. And your override money is based on 3,000, not 7,000 or 10,000. So looked at another company and said, wow, I think what I want to do is just sell solar. I just want to be the salesperson. And so I am sales qualified now in the state I live in. And I can get sales qualified in other states. But I've done sales a lot in my life. And when I looked at this, this is awesome money. I mean, let's just take this one right here. Go out and do 8 to 10 sales a month in solar. If you're, you know what, if somebody wants a job and they want to work and put in the time, you can do that. Where you live, it's work, it's a job, but it's a job that pays $65,000 a month. Okay. I've personally earned almost double that in my life in a single month in a different business from team building. So now we go back to here, 60 grand a month, not 60,000 in revenue as a team builder can happen with just 5 teams doing 4 sales, 5 sales a month. And you're not knocking yourself out doing that. I'm not trying to talk you out. If your heart's set on selling solar, do it. If your heart is set on building a long-term, huge income, think team building overall.
Agree.
All right. Let's get rid of all that ink. Woo! Here, get rid of all that ink. I did a lot of ink. I overdid the ink, didn't I? Go ahead and say it. Jim, you were just way too inky.
Way too inky, Jim.
Yeah. These guys have definitely got the system. Well, they've got the pay system. We have kind of our own little twist on the mousetrap here, but getting all the ink off because I don't want to save it with all the ink on there. Previous, is there a previous? Yes, there is.
Do you guys understand what he means when he says we have our own little mousetrap?
What does he mean by that?
So
Shamir, do you know what he means?
Sorry, I just had a call. Can you
Sorry.
come again, please?
What
Sorry.
do you know when Jim just said we've got our own little mousetrap? Do you know what our little mousetrap is?
I might be wrong, but the pre-solar presentation.
That's correct.
For the
pre-solar.
prospects?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The pre-solar presentation.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And it hovers around this one idea in every company, including Reach. And I get it from a company level. I get it. Preach and teach. Go get the electric bills, which means everybody's out really basically trying to promote solar. Cool. Go get the electric bills because the facts are nothing happens without an electric bill. The challenge with it is the people that will actually go get an electric bill versus the number of people who say that's a great idea, but as soon as they hang up the phone, as soon as they get off the Zoom, as soon as they step out their own door, they freeze up because that feels a lot like selling. Go get that electric bill, and because they know in the back of their mind, the only reason they're doing it is so they can make some money on whoever it is that gives them that electric bill, whether it be a friend or a stranger. So all we did was we said, okay, look, we need a way to create a self-perpetuating flow of people who want to go solar. How do you do that? Find people that want to make money, introduce them to the idea of solar as a way to make money, and then introduce them to the idea that in order to work with us, they need some references that we will show the pre-solar presentation to, and we will give their friend who's going to be a reference an opportunity to say yes or no. I want to know more about solar with no pressure to buy anything whatsoever. Well, that makes it a lot easier. So they get those people in front of us. They see the pre-solar presentation. Most of those people, by the time they're done with it, are like, hey, I really do want to know that. Now that I've seen this, the closing rate is literally 3 times higher on that person that gives you the electric bill than just going out to get electric bills. When they run out of their warm market to approach, instead of now saying, okay, now you need to go door knocking. I'm not kidding you when I tell you, there's been, in my world of selling, I've gone to gas stations and sat there with the gas pump handle in my car for 30 or 40 minutes. It's been full a long time, but I just was there waiting for the next car to come and fill up so I could talk to that person. I've gone, when we would go to the grocery store to shop, my wife shops, I go to the magazine stand, wait for the person to come up, look at some magazines and make a comment about what they're reading and engage them in a conversation. Well, that's harder than going to friends and saying, I've got a new job, I need a reference, would you go on a little training presentation with me about solar, tell me what you think. See, you know, that's easy. When they run out of those people, one way or another, there's many, many ways to get more people who want to earn money. They like the idea of doing it in solar. They've got some warm market. They work through the warm market, and you are now a team builder on your way to 90,000 or more a month. And you never have to have your hand on any of those solar sales at all, because in Reach, that's not a requirement. The company I just left, it was a requirement. If you don't do 2 sales a month, you don't get your $90,000 override check. Really? So anyway, don't have that issue to deal with here.
This strategy that Jim developed with me was a strategy that I used 30 years ago when I was selling rainbow sweepers door to door. And when I sold the rainbow sweepers door to door, a lady heard about me in Atlanta, Georgia, came to me and recruited me into financial services, Primerica Financial Services. And for the next 20 years or so, I was with that company teaching them exactly this system, and they used it at the kitchen table, and they're still using it today, full thrust, okay, full thrust. And instead of asking the Primerica people, instead of asking for 8 names, they asked for 100 names at the table. They made it absolutely ridiculous. But the referral program works like, it just works like a dream. And we've got a lead source. You guys already know about it. I use Lead Power. Jim introduced me to a company called Lead Power that generates opt-in leads of people that are interested in working from home. Okay, they're interested in working from home, and I've been calling those people. That's how I get my electric bills. That's how I generating the preset appointment. And now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start training and teaching that method to other people in our organization that will need it if they don't have, once they are out of their own warm market, okay?
Yep.
Once they're out of their own warm market, we'll teach them the Lead Power program, but until that time, we'll work inside their warm market. Make sense? Okay.
So Shamir, I know you're not in the United States, correct?
Right, he's
Yeah.
in Pakistan.
Right. But Addison, you're in Houston, or is your last name actually Houston?
My last name's Houston.
Oh,
I'm in
really?
San Antonio. Yep.
And you're in San Antonio?
Yep. And I went to University of Houston for college for
Wow,
undergrad.
so you are in Texas with a Houston last name. That's pretty cool.
There.
All right. So there's a couple of ways you can go. Way one, depending on your warm market, Shamir, in this case, unless you know really close friends in the United States, the warm market approach, going to your homeowner friends locally, is not going to work because we don't install in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So you're automatically going to have to be going after people who want to make money, or you can go after solar leads or leads
He is
where,
he is our business development expert in going
There
after
you go.
he's going after small mom and pops. He's working the work from home. He's posting on Facebook. He's got 44 people already in the pipeline that we're talking to about generating solar leads. And then the three of us guys have also put together a couple of deals with with a telemarketing firm that we're pretty confident is going to do a pretty decent job with us. Our main goal is to actually clean up that not clean it up based on what you've done, but actually teach it properly and schedule trainings consistently to be able to make it so that we can do that pre-presentation maybe 2 or 3 times a day, each of us,
There you go.
which would be a nice little kick in the pants for everybody.
so here's some final food for thought, then we can be done. But something I had to learn it the hard way, and the guys that do our Zooms will mention this every so often. It does not make any difference what works.
Correct.
What makes a difference is, can somebody you just did it to do it in 5 minutes from now?
Correct.
That's the only way you can build a team, is if what you did, they can do 5 minutes after they're on board. So I've actually had people walk up to me in meetings and say, that was amazing, I'm quitting. What? I could never do what you do. You don't ever want to have that conversation. It needs to be something where every part is small enough that the newest of new that you just got on board could do that, just that. Because they can learn the next step of doing the pre-solar presentation. But first, can they engage somebody and get that somebody in front of you in 5 minutes? That's the key to team building. Having something, an IPA, income producing activity, that's so simple and so short and so non-threatening, they will do it just because they want to.
I'll tell you a quick story. Yesterday, I was calling through our list of prospects that we were checking up on, and I got this one guy on the phone that he didn't qualify for solar and lived in a mobile home and was retired because of an injury. And so at the end of the presentation, I asked him, I said, so listen, just out of curiosity, is there any chance at all you might be looking for any kind of part-time income? He said, absolutely. I said to him exactly this. I said, how do you think I did? Did I do a pretty good job? Was I kind, courteous, and polite? The guy goes, yes. I said, could you do exactly what I did? He goes, oh yeah, I could do that. I go, well, then you've got yourself a job if you have an interest. I do training classes 2 times a week. And I just put him on my list and says, I'll stay in touch with you. So when I do these kind of presentations, I'm always thinking about, so that at the end of the presentation, I'm asking, are you interested in looking for any kind of income part-time or full-time or even part-time? You know, what is it that you'd like to do? And I'm always looking for that recruit type person. I'm telling you guys that story because that's what we're going to be training people on as they come in. The guy that I just brought in today, his name is Gil Nelson. He's a professional at doing exactly what we're talking about doing right now. He's been with me for a number of years. We hadn't talked in probably a year or so, and now he's ready for something different. And he was like thanking me like crazy. Oh, David, thank you, thank you, thank you. So it's a really pretty cool thing. The question I have for you, Jim, is do me a favor and pull up, if you can, go in and pull up your team list so that go into your reach and pull up your teams, because I want to make sure that I'm doing this again correctly, because you said go down a single leg, and I have gone down a single leg with Shamir quite a bit, but now I want to know, I've got a couple other guys coming in. Should I be doing other legs right now? Not building, not putting people at the top, but building another couple of legs at the same time?
Okay, so for starters, okay, let me,
Like Lee
share.
Askew is a great guy, and he was with me in the sweeper business, and he also followed me over to Primerica. And you'll see that he's in there, and I put him under Corey DiGiacomo. And Corey DiGiacomo is, oh, look at that. Kenny Lassiter entered, put his daughter in. She's a great salesperson right there. He put her in today. That's
Awesome.
pretty cool.
So the only thing here's to kind of answer your question, David, because you're going to build and build and build, right?
Yeah.
Regardless. And here's something again to keep in mind for as you're talking to people. So when you get to 5 wide, regardless,
Yep.
do not go any wider because they don't pay any wider. It's all based on depth after that. For
Okay,
now,
so 5 wide is the most you want to go. Okay.
period.
All right.
And then you're going to be going under. Okay, now, knowing that solar is a multi-step process that takes times, 30, 60, 90 days, all you want to do is build, build, build under people filling that pipeline. And when you're talking to somebody who's like, hey, they have to be able to sustain themselves or go get a job to sustain themselves while they are working their friends and they're doing their solar thing on the side. Can you imagine, though, they've gone 30, 60, 90 days without seeing a dime, but they've got 9 or 10 sales stacked in there that are in installation phases. And all of a sudden, bam, out comes an $8,000 or $9,000 check. You will have someone who will literally light on fire. That's one of the values. This is the only other business we've ever been in. We've been in one other where we actually owned the company, where we told people, you can actually change your life with this by accident and not even know you did until the money pops out. But I tell you, somebody who's used to working at McDonald's, used to working as a shoe salesman at Macy's or whatever, right? And they suddenly get a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 check because they had this stack of installs suddenly get done and they kicked out the money. Boom. Their world just changed. Their whole outlook just changed.
See, this guy Kenny Lassiter, I know a lot of the people personally, so I'm looking at Kenny, and I know that Kenny is going to send out he'll do an email to his 3,700 gutter people, and he's been in business for 10 or 15 years. The name of his company is Handy Boys. He's got his children involved. They do roofing, gutters, they do landscape, they do it all. You know what I mean? And he's got a great base of business in Philadelphia. And so he'll go ahead and put an email out, and he'll start generating appointments pretty easily. And so when you said to put people into put him in the middle of the pack or at the bottom, that's why I put Kenny in where I put him. But
There you go.
you don't necessarily take somebody, you're not looking for a Garanimal like Kenny and then putting them at the top of the list, right?
No,
No.
because that really isn't going to do, it doesn't serve as many people because they're there at the top of what? They're themselves,
Right.
You put somebody like that, though, down at the bottom of a line of 5, 6, 7 people, and you stand a very good chance then of getting volume pushing up through all those people. And the only way they can capture that, they came from, by the way, some of those guys came from Primerica also. So you get that person pumping volume up through that line, and now you could have 7 or 8 people suddenly realizing all I got to do is add one more person and build out against this guy's work, and boom, you now have a whole line on fire.
And so if you take a look right there, you got Shamir and Addison. Those are two guys, because they're on this call with us, they're kind of sitting in the catbird seat right now, right?
Yes, they are. Yep.
And so what would you recommend, what would you be saying to them? You be the leader here. What would you be saying to them based on what you see on this team building on this particular page?
Go get people. Focus on team building. The sales themselves, if you're following our system, which is get somebody who wants to make money and who has a small warm market list of homeowner friends. And then we send them to launch.youcansolar.com. That's where they learn how to rate their homeowner friends based on just how well do they know them. A 5 is somebody who knows the spouse's first name, has been to their house in the last 6 months. They've done a favor for them. They've invited them to a barbecue kind of thing, right? That person can be a bona fide real reference for this job that they're getting. Okay, they're homeowners. They have high credibility with them. Now all they got to do is learn this short talk that says, hey, Bob, Mary, I got a new job. I need a reference, and that reference needs to kind of ride along with me through a training, pre-solar training thing. Nothing to buy, nothing to sell, but would you do that with me? Boom. What we know is 4 out of 5 of those are going to want to give the bill to us and see what solar can do. 3 or 4, all 4 or 2 will get solar. Bam. No calling cold people who say, hey, I saw a picture of your house and I can see solar works. Not that that's bad. That's one, I call it a lane or a channel. But this is an easier one in a lot of cases to just get somebody who wants to make money, has some friends that own a home, they see a solar presentation and say, do me. So there you are.
So another thing, another question that I would have is, this is a good time for me as the leader of this team to say to these two guys, because I know them, I know their warm markets right now are not, Samir doesn't really have a warm market in the United
Right.
States. Addison has already been selling his warm market for a number of years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
both of these guys are totally qualified at this point to start teaching them the hiring program.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's my question. When I start teaching the hiring program, how many leads should I give them? How many leads should I dole out to them at one time, each?
100.
Okay, 100 leads at a time, okay? Okay, great. I understand that. And then I can teach from that point of view. I know how to set up my own KPIs and how to
Yep.
set it up to do follow-up and things like that. Okay, great. And at the same time, teaching them the presentation as well, because
Yep.
let me ask you: does it make sense to have them all do the hiring call and then turn around and do the presentation to that same person, or would that be foolish?
A great question. If you have to, then yeah. In other words, I'm going to be actually uncorking the genie from the bottle starting Wednesday of next week. I've been stacking leads. So when I call them, the first part of the call is, hey, I understand you're looking for work and this is not a sales call. We're hiring and so on, right? A little bit, and this is solar, so they know all that. My job is to set you up with the interviewer if you are still really looking. That's the end of the first talk that you would teach somebody once they've used up their warm market. Then now they're going to do that part alone. Anybody can do that. Okay, they say, yeah, set me up with the interviewer. Okay, as it happens, I am the interviewer. That's where my call is going to have to go because I don't have somebody that can do the interview part right now. You can do that.
So with us, we could also, in order to teach each other the interview process, we could bounce off each other. I could make Shamir
That
be
is-
my interview guy, make Addison be my interview guy. I could be their interview guy, and everybody's
Yep.
learning at the same time. What do you guys
Exactly.
think
Well,
of that
yeah.
process?
Okay.
So that is really, truly the most powerful building strategy there is when you've got a handful of people up and down line where you say, okay, I'll call a few and I'll be the one that says, hey, we're hiring. Are you really looking? I need to set up your interview then. And boom, you do that and you'll be my interviewer. Okay. And then swap roles for a while and just do the reverse because you're both building in the same team line. It's very, very powerful. Last resort is you calling the lead, doing the introductory talk, and then saying, I am the interviewer. Here's what you don't want to do is go right into the interview.
Right.
Do not do that. A, they may or may not have the time, but B, you do not want to break your momentum of that one particular call. You're doing interview setup. Do those, set up your work, then go through an interview presentation. Okay. So that's what you want to do.
Okay. All right, so I know my strategy that I'm doing right now is good. I'm on the right path. Okay, great. You guys have any questions for Jim?
No? Thank you.
You're very welcome. You can totally tear this thing up and you could do it. I mean, Reach is powerful enough, good enough that if somebody just says, I'm just going to focus on solar, I don't care. You'll make great money. At some point, you'll also get tired though. And then it'll suddenly hit you. You can still make $100,000 a month team building with about 1/3 or 1/4 the work. But having the experience of being a powerful, strong solar salesperson, nothing wrong with that. And it's great, faster money, really. Well, sort of faster. It's still a construction project that takes time, but that's the way that goes. All right.
Thank you very much, Jim. I got this recorded. I'm gonna send this out to a couple of guys that should have been on here, like Corey DiGiacomo. Corey's a great guy out of California. He's been selling solar. He has sold solar. Believe it or not, he's got a guy out there that he turns his referrals into. Then the guy builds out the proposal, gives it back to Corey, and Corey goes and does the proposal. And he's sold
there you go.
he's sold like 5 or 6, so he's pretty good at it.
Mhm.
And then Lee Askew is just a born again sales guy, and now loves solar, so he's gonna he'll be fine. Gil Nelson, I've already put him into the system, and he's a go-getter. When you see that this guy's got a beard, he looks just like what is his name was the leader of the band Grateful Dead. What was his name?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Axel or?
No, the Grateful Dead.
I don't know.
I can't. Golly, I used to buy his ties. Jerry Garcia.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow.
Yeah, and he's a cool guy. He's at night he's serving steak dinners in a high-end steakhouse with that big old giant beard and his all his curly hair. He's incredibly cool. And he joined up with me today, so we're gonna kick some butt with him as well. All right,
There you go.
Jim. Thank you very much for this. I'm gonna save
Good.
this recording and
Appreciate
get it out
both
to
all of
everybody.
you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Bye
Thanks,
for now.
everybody.
Bye.